Welcome to Season 4, Episode 5 of the Me and ADHD podcast. In today's episode, we explore the challenges of accessing ADHD and autism assessments through the NHS in Oxfordshire. This issue cannot be viewed solely as a funding problem. It has significant and lasting impact on real people and their lives. Joining me for this very important conversation is Ella Bannister, a Youth Ambassador for the Abingdon Bridge, which is an Oxfordshire-based charity providing mental health support, counselling and well-being services for young people aged 13 to 25. Ella was instrumental in shaping the focus of this episode, and today she shares both her personal perspective and the wider realities faced by many individuals seeking assessment and support. So Ella, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Hello.
Really good to have you here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
That's good to know. This is a really important conversation, and I'm glad you brought this to me, and it's a really good thing that you're doing regarding having a conversation and getting it out there so people are a bit more aware and understanding about what it's about. Because, like I said, it's not just about the funding aspect. There are people behind these stories.
Yeah, that is so true. There's so many people who are going through exactly the same thing as each other, and they just don't know it.
Yeah. A lot of people who it's very lonely until you get to speak to the other people and get to hear their stories. You do feel alone.
Yeah.
So we're gonna help stop that. We're gonna help people understand that they're not alone.
Yeah, we are.
Right. Okay. So tell us a little bit about you. Tell me about your story. Are you autistic and or ADHD?
So I'm diagnosed with autism, and it's been suggested that I also seek an ADHD assessment as well.
Okay.
So they're both kind of on the cards for me. But yeah, it's been quite a long journey for me.
Yes, I can imagine.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you got diagnosed?
I was diagnosed when I was 21, which was last year. So I've been diagnosed just over a year now.
Okay. So what was it like prior to the assessment then and the diagnosis? I mean, life generally in education and home and whatever, was that a struggle?
Yeah, so I always felt different from the people around me. I struggled to make and keep friends like my entire life. School was incredibly difficult for me. And I was diagnosed with dyslexia in year 8. So academically, I thought that was the reason I struggled so much. And I kind of based that on why I was struggling so much. But now looking back, I realised that some of these struggles were from being autistic. I was bullied through most of my school years, and so I did really hate school. It wasn't really a great experience for me, and yeah, it wasn't very nice. And by the end of it, I did start to struggle with my mental health. So getting me through my GCSEs was quite difficult. And now I look back, it probably made it harder that I was undiagnosed and I was unaware of what was like behind it all. So yeah, I started struggling, and then when I got to college, it was very much like it was difficult for me to go to lessons because I would just have panic attacks all the time. So I became quite low. And then I was referred to therapy at the Abingdon Bridge when I was 16. And that's where it kind of first was suggested to me that I might be autistic. And I thought it might have been a possibility before, but I'd kind of suppressed that idea. And even when it was suggested to me at the Abingdon Bridge, I ignored it for a while because I was starting a job. And I was like, it's not the right time. But I did eventually go, and I got referred. And yeah, so I got referred when I was 17 to CAMS. And yeah, work life's been very up and down for me. I'm aware I mask a lot at work, so it's quite inevitable that I burn out every so often. But yeah.
So with that, you were referred to CAMS.
For an
For an assessment. And okay, so how long did that take for the assessment itself?
I never got an assessment with CAMHS, so I was referred when I was 17 for an assessment, and a few years later, actually learned that the referral was never processed by CAMHS. So I had the referral from my doctors, but CAMHS never actually processed it.
Right. Okay.
And I found that out about 2 years later. So that was quite hard to learn, that actually it it wasn't the fact that I didn't get to the top of the waiting list by the time I turned 18. It was the fact that it never went through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really tough one to swallow when you feel that you're making progress, you've taken a step and you've got referred, and you're kind of like, okay, this is how long roughly it's going to take, so to speak, and okay, that's hard enough to hear, but then years, not weeks, years down the line, you find out actually you haven't been put on the waiting list, it hasn't been processed.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, that's not what you want to hear.
No. No.
Bless you.
Yeah.
So what happened then? What did you do?
So I then turned 18, and I thought the reason I hadn't reached the top of the waiting list was because I turned 18 and they were like, oh, fob her off now. So then when I turned 18, I was like, it got brought to me that I then obviously needed to go on the adult waiting list. So at that point, I really struggled with the overwhelm from doing the referral forms. I found that really difficult to do on my own. So I didn't actually get referred until I was 19, because I needed help to do them forms. And I hadn't really brought it to anyone, because I was like, well, I should be able to do these forms. So yeah, it took a while, but I was referred when I was 19.
Okay. The forms are, I understand, because we've done the forms quite a few times now. I understand, obviously, the information needs to be sort of collated, and they need to know all that, and I get that.
Yeah.
However, they're not really conducive to be an ADHD or autistic or anyone with a sort of neurodivergent sort of mind. There are a lot. There's a lot to process.
It's a lot of information.
Yeah.
You're trying to remember things from years and years ago. So it is quite difficult to do on your own.
Yeah. Oh no, I feel for you. Bless you. It's a lot of information to get through.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, so you weren't on the waiting list, and then you got referred to the adult?
I self-referred.
You self-referred.
So
okay.
yeah. So it was suggested that I just do it myself rather than the doctors doing it. That was also an option, but it didn't make a difference to whether you got seen sooner. So I just did it myself.
Okay, yeah. And why not? Because when you're desperate for answers, I guess, and you need that support, and you don't know what's going on, so if you're not confident in what's happening and what's going on in your head, you can't really put all the correct things in place.
Yeah.
So you kind of, you need the answers, and then you get told that actually hasn't been referred. You've been referred, but you're not been referred.
Yeah.
That's, how does it make you feel yourself inside? I mean,
it was very difficult. It was very difficult to process, and it has been a really difficult process going through that and being told that I'd wait a certain amount of time, and then I've never really been told the truth. Like, I thought I'd been referred to CAMHS, but they hadn't processed the referral. And then the adult waiting list, I obviously was told that I would wait less time than what it actually was. So the waiting list was a lot longer than what I was originally told.
What were you originally told?
I was told 3 years.
And what did you find
And
out?
then so I then found out, I think it was August of 2024, that the waiting list had reached 9 years and they'd shut it. And then, like, literally 2 months later, it hit the news that the waiting list had hit 18 years, and that's why they'd shut it. So that's like a whole double in it. So yeah, I was then told from that point, I'd been on the waiting list about 18 months at that point. I was then told that I would wait another 5 to 9 years, but it would depend.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's wow. Yeah. There's not much you can say about that, to be fair. Yeah, that's a long time to wait, and I know from the ADHD side, through the NHS, for an adult, they've stopped their waiting list now. They stopped their list.
Yeah.
Was it 2 years ago now? I think. So
I think it was the end of 2024.
yeah, so
it's been quite a while.
So yeah, so as a child, there is you can go through CAMHS and there's a massive waiting list, but as an adult, directly through the NHS, there is no pathway, so
No.
you can't
No,
be
you're
put in.
stuck.
Yeah, so you've only got the chance of either doing the right to choose,
Yeah.
or private. Okay,
Yeah.
so which both of those comes with the negative side as well, kind of thing. It's still yeah. So it's sometimes the waiting list is too long, and sometimes you just haven't got that service at all.
No. Yeah. Which is really difficult. It's really difficult for the people who are going through this and are experiencing this.
Yeah. Now, in my head, I like to think that the CAMHS are there. They're doing a job. They do a good job. They're really busy and underfunded, and they can only do what they're contracted to do, told to do, and have the ability to do. You know, looking at how many staff members and whatever they've got.
Yeah.
But yeah, you'd hope that the communication would be better.
Yeah. I don't really blame the services for any of this, because they are just doing what they've got the funding for. That their funding got reduced, so it meant that they couldn't carry out half as many assessments as they were able to do. So I don't blame them at all. I think it just needs to be dealt with better, because there is a higher demand than there ever used to be. But the funding has reduced in that time as well.
Yeah.
So it's not really balancing out.
Yeah. And I think we've got to remember as well that the funding doesn't just change how many assessments they can do. It also changes the staffing levels. And when it comes to the communication and sending out letters and being on top of all the correspondence and letting everyone know in the right time, and that goes as well if you haven't got the staff to do that. And so it is a shame, and it does need to change, because like we said right at the beginning, there are people behind all this. So before you got assessed then and diagnosed, did you have any access to any support and help?
So I did. I had access to, obviously, the Abingdon Bridge. But before that, I had access to other types of therapy. So I was with CAMHS for therapy. I was with Talking Space. But then when the Abingdon Bridge came along, I discovered that really worked for me, because I think with CAMHS and like Talking Space, the thing is that you have to fit into the mold. And being autistic, I just didn't fit into their mold of how they worked. And with the Abingdon Bridge, they kind of made the mold fit me, rather than like forcing me into a mold that wasn't working for me. So that for me was a massive game changer, and like really helped me. And it it made me realize that that's just how my brain works. And so yeah, Tab, honestly, they've been amazing, and it's like my safe place when things got hard. And obviously you don't have a lot of access to like autism and ADHD support in the meantime, so having somewhere that tailors to you was really, really helpful for me.
No, that's good. That's good. I mean, going through what you went through, and you know the whole waiting list and the struggling through school and everything. I mean, how does it make you feel knowing that your story isn't exactly, you know, a one-off? This is extremely common.
Yeah.
You know, and people are struggling. They can't get the support. They can't get access to an assessment for finding out what's going on. And even if they are put on it, it's 19 years.
Yeah.
It's that's it doesn't fill you with much hope, I guess, that things are going to change anytime soon.
No.
But it is a very common story with with people in Oxfordshire.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a shame, and
Yeah.
a lot of people out there are struggling.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it makes me quite sad that it's not common. It makes me quite angry and frustrated and just let down, not just for me but for everyone. And it shouldn't be this way, but the unfortunately the funding in this sector just isn't enough compared to the demand. Which obviously needs to change, because we can't keep doing this. We can't keep closing the waiting list every 18 years to free it up, because then people are then waiting 18 years with nowhere to go. It's hard knowing that I'm not the only one with a story like this, but it's real. Like, loads of people have the same story, and we are just desperate for answers and support that isn't available to us.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
and it's across the whole neurodivergent sector, if you want to call it that. You know, it just seems that the waiting list and trying to find answers and the right help, it seems to be very, very difficult in, you
Yeah.
know, in every step of the way. Um,
Yeah.
very, very difficult. And you know, living with, for myself, ADHD, or autism or dyslexia, struggling through life, through education, through career, relationships, all of that is just a very hard thing to do for a lot of people, and it
Yeah.
doesn't always end well.
No.
And it can have a huge knock-on effect. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, we've gone through some sort of stats together. We had a look at some reports and some studies. You know, and I know these figures come from all different countries, all over the place, and all that. But quite worrying, to be fair. And
Yeah.
it makes you think of why doesn't the government really look at these kind of figures and go, look, this
Yeah.
is a knock-on effect is happening.
Yeah.
So
It's
let's have a little look.
concerning.
Yeah. So let's have a little look. Right. So we know now. So there's a recent study. Was it last year? I think it was. There's a reduction in life expectancy for unsupported and unmedicated ADHDers. So of around, on average, around 8 years compared to the general population. And that's not
Yeah.
because they have ADHD, that's because of the life with ADHD, because of the
Yeah.
accidents, because of the lack of support and help. You got the depression, and then the depression, suicide, it's
Yeah.
all of that. And that's massive. That's a
Yeah.
massive thing. I mean, I know you've got
Yeah.
some of the things for the autistic sort of figures. I mean, what
Yeah.
sort of things have you got from there?
Um, for example, the risk of suicide in autistic people is 13 times higher than the general population, and a lot of this does come from high masking, and high masking can cause like severe depression and anxiety, and it can increase people's risk of suicide.
That's 13 times, you say?
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
with ADHD, it's 5 times higher, which is astonishing. But 13
Yeah.
times higher is, and then you can't forget that the majority, well, 80% of people with ADHD have another co-occurring condition,
Yeah.
and autism is one of those. So yeah, that's a big thing
Yeah.
to happen because they're not supported.
Yeah. 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 It's really sad.
Okay, it's another one here. We've got right. So we've got still suicide risk, financial distress, suicide risk. We've got here for ADHD because of the impulsivity that could come with ADHD. It can lead down a whole rabbit hole of job seeking and not be able to keep hold of a job, spending, gambling, things like that, and that's 4 times higher due to the financial distress,
Wow.
suicide risk.
Yeah.
Um,
That's crazy.
and we've got lifetime self-harm, 16 to 24-year-olds, 31.7%. This is undiagnosed and untreated ADHD in females. That's nearly a third. It's a disgusting figure.
Oh yeah, it really is. It really is. It's from my end, it's estimated that autistic individuals are 3 to 4 times more likely to self-harm, and this again can ruminate from masking, and it can just be a part of it.
Yeah, masking is huge, and I know
Yeah.
a lot of people who have got no sort of understanding of neurodivergent conditions, don't really understand what the whole masking thing is.
Yeah.
And masking is something that we have done daily, nearly, I won't say 24/7, but near enough, because of we need to fit in. It's I guess a stress response, because if we don't act normal,
Yeah.
then we're not going to be accepted. We're going to be given a harder time. We're not going to be able to do things, and it is exhausting.
Yeah. And that's
Absolutely.
why so many people go under the radar, because you are just trying to fit in and you don't realize it at the time what you're doing. You just do it. So yeah, it's just trying to fit society's expectations, really.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
which is the wrong thing to do. I mean,
Yeah.
with the masking, a lot of children can mask when they're at school, so
Yeah.
to fit in, but then they are unmasked when they get home, or they mask at home and unmask at school.
Yeah.
That's when school picks things up. But yeah, the whole masking thing can lead to a world of pain. You can imagine doing it pretty much your life. I mean, I was diagnosed 51. Okay, that's a lot of years of masking.
Yeah.
And trying to cope
It's
and
a
trying to
long
get
time.
through it all. Okay, so all right, so we've got. I'm just looking at these figures again. We've got permanent school exclusion. Children with ADHD face 5 times greater risk of a permanent exclusion overall than the general population. In Oxfordshire, 39% of children diagnosed with ADHD have experienced at least one fixed term exclusion during their schooling.
Wow. That's a big number.
Yeah.
That really is.
It's and that's due to their unsupported, undiagnosed, untreated, and being in an environment that's not conducive to an ADHD's minds depending on
Yeah.
their presentations. The whole sitting still, the whole trying to listen to something that's extremely boring.
It's a lot. Yeah.
It's a lot. It is so much to be able to do. But a report came out, I think it's last year again or the year before, confirms that excluding children does not correct underlying behavioural needs. Rather, it worsens, I should say. ADHD symptoms, exacerbates conduct problems, and reduces pro-social behaviours by disrupting academic continuity and severing supportive peer networks. Of course, I was reading that.
Yeah.
So we know with the study that being excluded doesn't work.
No.
No. But it's done a lot still.
Yeah, like with autism, it's twice as likely, so like it's still like a high figure, and a lot of these are undiagnosed at the time because there's just not understanding around that.
Yeah. And is there much understanding about it when they are diagnosed?
Well, yeah, exactly.
So
makes you wonder.
Yeah. Again, it goes back to, yes, the funding, but the training as well, because you need obviously funding for the training. The training that people have who are, I guess, put in charge of helping and educating, our children and ourselves, don't understand either because they haven't had the training for it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And if they have had training, it's very basic training. It doesn't really delve into like the deeper parts. So yeah.
Yeah. And not everyone's the same. The presentations are all a little bit different. It's good to have the basic knowledge and understanding, but the reality is some people are going to struggle with certain areas and some people won't struggle with those areas. They'll struggle with something different. So having that understanding and that being able to adapt your approach to them and expectations, that needs to be done a lot better.
Yeah, definitely. My name is Ella and this is my story. My whole life I felt different. I've always felt like an outcast, like I never fit in anywhere I went. I was bullied through half my primary school years and all of my secondary school years. School felt like hell for me, and in secondary school I'd been ground down by the bullying so much that I had very low self-esteem and little to no confidence. By year 11, I started to struggle with my mental health. It started as low mood and then progressed onto anxiety and daily panic attacks. My GCSEs felt like a mission to complete while battling this, and I spent a massive chunk of this time in the SEN unit. And this is where I had a conversation that made me wonder about the idea of being autistic. A girl was telling me about her experience of being autistic and how it can affect girls differently and how she masked. And as she was speaking, I just kept thinking, this sounds like me. I didn't know what to do with this information at the time, and it became quite overwhelming, so I just kept quiet. I didn't really talk about it. And then when I started college, the anxiety and panic attacks started to become quite debilitating. So I was finally referred for therapy, where I received sessions for a few months. And at the end of my sessions, my therapist said the words that really changed my life. She said, "Have you ever thought you could be autistic?" At first, I again didn't do much about it. Looked into it a bit, but I was about to start my apprenticeship, so I didn't feel like I had the space for it. Fast forward a few months into the job, and I was struggling with the transition and the change. So I was referred to CAMHS for an autism assessment. And fast forward to my 18th birthday, there's still no communication or the assessment happening. And I later learned that this referral was never processed by CAMHS. From when I turned 18, I knew I needed to get myself on the adult waiting list, as I knew there would be a wait. but all the referral forms I had to complete I found overwhelming. And when I finally asked for help with completing the forms from my therapist, a year and a half had passed and the waiting list had reached 3 years. The wait was then on, and after 18 months of being on the waiting list, it hit the news that the waiting list had been closed after reaching 18 years long. This made me feel quite a lot of sadness, frustration, anger, dread, and I didn't really know what the future held for my assessment. And then I received the email in January 2025, and I was told that I'd wait another about 5 to 9 more years. On top of how long I'd already waited. So I later in 2025 chose to go for a private autism screening, and it was recommended I went for an autism and ADHD assessment. I waited over a year and then decided to go for the private assessment, which cost me £2,250, excluding the £250 price that I paid for the screening. For me, diagnosis meant self-discovery, learning who I was under the mask and replacing the negative labels I'd given myself over the years with a word for how my brain worked. I was very fortunate that I was able to save for a private assessment, and after 2 years of being on the NHS waiting list, I finally had a private diagnosis of autism. Getting diagnosed, I finally had my answer that explained why I felt so different my whole life and why I do things the way I do. There was a lot of emotions, including a great amount of relief, sadness that it wasn't noticed sooner, and happiness that this was the start of my journey to find who I am under the mask. If there was a better system set up, I might have been able to wait, but I'd waited as long as I could and been let down by the system too many times.
Well, half of all male prisoners and a third of female prisoners were excluded from school. And now I've got here between 25 and 85%, depending on what report you read, of the total UK prison population are believed to have untreated or undiagnosed ADHD.
Whoa, that's big.
That's
big figure.
Yeah, that's massive figures. That is just, and just to think in my head, at the very least, if we had, in schools, if we had a beginning of term, the children with the parents obviously could fill in pre-screening forms, simple, few minutes, and so you can see if there's any traits coming through, so we can not necessarily nip it in the bud, but be able to act a lot quicker in referring and bringing this subject up to parents, to schools, to rather than let it escalate to a point where people aren't coping and it's all a bit of a nightmare for then something to happen. We want to get there beforehand.
That would be a really good thing to do.
But it's just not happening.
It's not, no. It's not, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So approximately 50% of people who are diagnosed with autism later in life have a long history of contact with psychiatric services. They're frequently misdiagnosed with a mental health condition such as bipolar disorder, BPD, etc., before they receive their autism diagnosis.
That's a big thing. I've the amount of people that I've spoken to, a big thing in that we hear, it's being it's either diagnosed or it's been misdiagnosed. I'm like, but no one really speaks about that. Hang on, to get to the stage of where we've got to now, we have been misdiagnosed with loads of different things. Until we've actually got to the to the correct diagnosis. I spoke to a gentleman, was it last year, and he's autistic. He has his own podcast. I was on his podcast, and he said he struggled with the fact that he was just being diagnosed with a symptom, because he was diagnosed with depression and anxiety, and it's just the symptom of what is life with being autistic, and what he went through without being supported. He said he hated being just told he's a symptom. And it's true. We get misdiagnosed all the time. But no one talks about it. No one You know what I mean?
No,
It's just,
no.
but
It's a big thing.
yeah. We've got down here increased risk of motor accidents, 40%, 46%
Wow.
higher risk of having accidents in cars. But again, undiagnosed, unsupported, untreated
Yeah.
ADHD. Um,
Yeah.
core, comorbid or co-occurring conditions. Depression, clinical depression. 70% of adults with ADHD suffer from depression, condition heavily driven by chronic environmental failures, burnout, rejection sensitivity. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. It is big. It's a very high figures um in this sort of sector of things.
yeah. But it affects your mental health. It affects your education.
Yeah.
It can affect your your career choices. I mean, I was very much in this next one with the likelihood of impulsive quitting. The profound impulsivity inherited in ADHD leads to a threefold increase in abruptly leaving jobs without a financial safety net.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really common. Um Being able to like hold down a job and staying at the same job. Um because it's hard for us to cope in like the normal working environment.
It is. And there can be just some simple adjustments that can be made.
Yeah.
Depending on what the job is and the environment is, there can be very, very simple things that can be put in place, and they're being missed.
Yeah.
Yes, there are all more sort of complex ones, but you know, and then sort of reading that we've got 60% adults with ADHD, 60% more likely to be terminated from the employment due to performance inconsistencies through sort of time blindness and behavioural disputes. And the time blindness, being late all the time, you're not getting your work done on time and things like that. If you
Yeah.
don't know what's going on and understanding what's going on in your head and what the problem actually is, you don't know how to fix it. You don't know how to support it or
Yeah.
manage it or ask for help around these things.
Yeah.
Um,
And then like you've not really got a lot of chance because if you don't understand it, then your workplace is definitely not going to understand it.
yeah, yeah. You can't, because if you don't know it, even if they knew everything about it, but if you don't know
Yeah.
it, you're not going to agree with what they're saying, because hang about, you can't say I do this because of this and I have ADHD, I'm autistic. I have to be assessed first. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, so it all comes down to getting that assessment and diagnosis first of all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now we've got something that can affect families here as well. Um,
Yeah.
by the time the children reach, if you've got children, reach, reach the age of 8, the divorce rate for parents raising that child with ADHD is nearly double the general population. So
Whoa.
basically, by the time your child reaches 8 and the child has ADHD, undiagnosed ADHD, the divorce rate is 12.6% higher, because it's tough.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
again, if you don't know what you're dealing with, you don't understand what's going on,
Yeah.
life dealing with that can be extremely stressful for everybody.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, because you're trying to understand a child that like you're not like equipped to like know about if you don't know what's going on with them in the first place.
Yeah, because we don't talk about it. We don't. It's not
No.
a general conversation thing that we have.
No.
You don't just go, "Oh, I think they might have ADHD. I think they might be autistic. Let's put all this
Yeah.
into place and see what happens." No, that's not the conversations we have, because that's
No.
not our mindset and that's not where our knowledge is, because we haven't dealt with
Yeah.
it before.
Yeah. And a lot of the time, like you like you're trying to like figure out what's going on. But a lot of the traits, if they don't meet like the almost like typical traits, like the stereotypical traits, then people don't know enough about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a major problem, is people don't know deeper than the stereotypical traits. So if you're not showing them in particular, or showing all of them stereotypical traits, people just don't think about it.
Yeah, must be something else. Must have behavioural issues. Must
Yeah.
be try hard. It's all the try harder stuff, and you can do it if you just put some effort in.
Yeah.
But when you do put the effort in, I say
Yeah.
when you put the effort in, we're always putting the effort in. But when you do go above and beyond just to suit everybody else, and that mask is heavily put on, it comes at a price, as we know. It's a heavy price.
Yeah. 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 66% of late diagnosed autistic people reported experiencing suicidal ideation. So it's a really, really common thing and that sort of thing. And it's 9 times higher than the general population, and 35% of late diagnosed autistic people have also reported having had a plan or had attempted suicide at some point in their lives. So it's a massive, massive figure when people are just struggling to cope, find answers. It's a really difficult thing, and so many people experience it.
Yeah.
This is an anonymous story sent in. I spent my earliest years surrounded by an emotionally turbulent household. Some of the things I remember from being young are horrendous. This led to a diagnosis of depression and ongoing exposure to therapy when I was around 13 years old. I am pretty confident that because I am able to function and had an unstable home life, I was labelled as the troubled kid. And things were let slide because it was easier to ignore than deal with things. My grades tanked and my attention decreased. I became less and less interested in achieving and became more focused on flying under the radar in the most part and surviving until I didn't have to be at school anymore. Mid-20s, I had a breakdown and ended up speaking to the Complex Needs Service, who brought forward the idea that I had a number of personality disorders. I assumed for a long time that this was me, but I wasn't going to let these disorders define me. I tried so many things to cope with my disconnect and lack of understanding of the way people interact with the world around them. When my second child was born, I went back to therapy and they simply asked if I had an autism or ADHD diagnosis. I confirmed I did not, and she suggested I get these looked into. I was fortunate enough that my workplace has a private healthcare service which includes access to private diagnosis services if recommended by a therapist. After 7 weeks, I have a diagnosis of ADHD and a recommendation to seek an autism assessment. I was then also diagnosed with autism after a little while, and the original autism triage being misplaced and having to do another. I now have an extra therapist which helps me cope with work-based issues and how I interact to reduce my masking and overwhelm. Unfortunately, I can't access medication for ADHD because there is no shared care agreement in Oxfordshire. I haven't even looked into whether I am allowed to use the Oxfordshire ADHD/autism outpatient services because the rejections when turned away hit too hard. If I was to pay for the medication privately, the titration service costs £750 plus £160 a month for the prescription, and that's a total cost of £2,670 a year on top of the already expensive assessment. If I wasn't able to get my diagnosis from work, I wouldn't have been able to get the diagnoses at all. I feel very privileged I was able to do this. Including the medication fees, it's a very expensive pathway and for the most, very unaffordable. I don't care about the labels so much. For me, it was and is about getting the right therapy and getting my first and second child the help they deserve early enough. I want to make sure they are both supported so that they can perform their absolute best in life.
I hear a lot about, do you need a diagnosis and why do you need that label and stuff like that. It's not about the diagnosis as such. It's not about the label, whatever you like to call it. It's about the answers.
Yeah.
We're struggling and we need the answers.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time people think, oh, you don't need a label, like labels are bad. but actually the labels that people give themselves instead is so detrimental. Like, people view themselves in such a negative way because they think something's wrong with them, because they don't have the words, they don't have the answer for it. So actually giving someone a label is actually quite helpful a lot of the time, because it can kind of reframe their idea of how they do things, like how they're coping, what life's like for them.
Absolutely. I couldn't say it any better myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The label that we're either given by other people or we give to ourselves
Yeah.
is so much worse than the label that I have now of ADHD.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll take this label that I've got now.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of time with the other labels. Never
Yeah.
did like those labels, and those labels never
No.
helped me at all. They just brought me down.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true.
And and with all that, with it can affect your whole areas of your life. And we've got an estimated 44% of all homeless youth exhibit persistent ADHD, which kind of then is driving generational cycles of extreme poverty, because we know there's a high heredity, sort of, excuse me, it's highly hereditable, I should say.
Yeah.
So up to 80%. So the likelihood is that the parent or parents have ADHD,
Yeah.
or grandparents. And it's, so if the child is not being supported, well, big chances that the parent isn't being supported. So
No.
they've left or lived a life not being supported whatsoever,
Yeah.
leading
And
to their child not being supported. It's a whole knock-on effect.
yeah. And a lot of the time, these parents get diagnosed because their children are diagnosed first.
Yep.
And that's how they discover it. They're like, oh, actually, I do that. And it's like, oh, maybe that's what's going on with me.
Yeah. Yeah. That was me.
Well, yeah.
That was me. That's
Yeah.
how I got sort of diagnosed, because it all started to make sense.
Yeah.
And that's all you want, is for life
Yeah.
to make sense. And once I
Yeah.
got
The
the
pieces click
diagnosis,
together.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. As the years and decades go on, you kind of put excuses in there, because
Yeah.
you try to make sense of it all, and none
Yeah.
of those reasons why you did things or missed out on things or you couldn't do things or whatever it was never really made that much sense. But it's the best fit you had.
Yeah.
But when you get assessed and diagnosed and you find out about it, and yeah, it all just clicks, and you're like, oh, yes,
Yeah.
and you can cut yourself a bit of slack from the past,
Yeah.
but more importantly, you can put things in place to help and support yourself,
Yeah.
because all you want it to do is have a better life and to be able
Yeah.
to do things and be able to, well, keep having a life, basically.
Mhm.
Be it if you're on your own, or be it if you've got a family. You just want to be able to cope with what's going on so much better,
Yeah.
understand yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all we want.
Yeah. 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 That is all we want.
Oh man, that's so. I mean, from all those figures there, it makes a massive difference if you get the support and you get the, be it diagnosis, support, and the strategies and the guidance and the understanding by others. That can stop all those figures from happening, because these are all the undiagnosed and unsupported. So they might be diagnosed, but from an ADHD side, unmedicated, not being sort of having the education behind what they can do to help with their impulsivity or their time blindness or their
Yeah.
their how to do things and remember to do things, and that can all
Yeah.
be changed by having that diagnosis.
Yeah. But having that answer, that explanation.
Yeah, man, they're horrible figures, but I think it's really important that we speak about them because it's the truth,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I know these these reports and all that have been done from all over the world, and you know, but they are generally the same, you know. It is what it is.
Yeah.
um and it's scary.
Yeah.
It is very, very
They're
scary.
scary figures. Yeah. But it's important that we do actually look at them, because I think people just don't know the figures. So, it's a massive thing
Yeah,
when you actually find out about them.
yeah. I mean, what all we hear is on the news, whatever, it's about, you know, the rate of diagnosis has gone up, or the rate of people wanting to be assessed has gone up, and it's risen by this, and that's what you hear all the time. And okay, yeah, yeah, because people know about it now, and they
Yeah.
understand about it a little bit better now, and it's talked about beyond on social media and the news a
Yeah.
lot more. Whereas 30 years ago, um,
You didn't have that.
we were even talking about depression. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, when
Yeah.
I was diagnosed with depression, I told no one. Stigma and all the rest, no one knew,
Yeah.
because that's not something I wanted to talk about, because, you know, men don't cry. You
Yeah.
should just, you know, stiff upper lip, get on with it, crack on with it. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, that's what we kind of like live with, and we don't live with that anymore.
No.
I mean, it's still there, but we
Yeah.
talk about it. We talk
Yeah.
about things now,
Yeah.
which is one of the best things that's happened.
Yeah. It's come, the world's come a long way. I think that there's obviously a lot further to go, but we've come such a long way with talking about these things now, and more people are open about it now.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
which is good. Um, that's how it needs to be. It's just unfortunate that the I guess the system hasn't sort of caught up with it all and put things into place to
Yeah.
help and support those people.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so that's I say the real world. That's what we live in. That's what we have
Yeah.
to deal with. That's what we have to, you know. That's, you know, in our minds, and it's the reality of it all.
Yeah.
And it's not about having a label. It's not about a trend. It's not, what a stupid trend. Who come up with that? It's a
I
trend.
know.
But you know, the whole supporting and the funding can change so many lives. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's not about the money. Sometimes it's about the help and the help to organize certain things. Um, I mean, now I have an ADHD, a peer support group that started
Yeah.
last year, because there wasn't anything sort of locally. And it's there for people to come and talk, and to be around other people who are going through the same thing. And, you
Yeah.
know, that's things like that help. It matters. Um,
Yeah. It does.
for you to
It
know,
makes a huge
yeah,
difference.
because that's one of the hardest things is you always feel alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's lots of things that can help, you know. When you get diagnosed as well, you can, it'll be nice to have that access to, be it therapies and coaching, and medication is can be great. And support
Yeah.
groups are, you know, brilliant. There needs to be more support groups. Um, but it's something. There's lots of things that can be done to help.
Yeah.
You know, not just adults, but, you know, children, adolescents, through education and everything as well. Um, but we just need people to understand that, you know, the reality behind it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, how important is it then that neurodivergent people have the access to support? You know, not just in education, but also in the community as adults as well. I mean, how well, yeah, just really how important do you think it's needed, really.
I think it is a really important thing. There isn't much support there. And a lot of the time when you are diagnosed, you receive the diagnosis and then you're kind of sent on your way with like no support in place. And as an adult, there's not really a lot of places you can turn to. I do also believe the support in school should be better for those who are undiagnosed and struggling, because I think there's just not enough awareness around it. Because I struggled a lot through school and I had to fight for my support that I did have. But because I didn't have a word for what I was going through, it was really hard to access this support. And I don't know if the support in schools have like now improved since I've left, because it's been a few years. However, there may still be like other people out there who felt or have who do feel the same. So I do think it is worth mentioning as well. But there's just there it would be so helpful if there's just more support in and awareness in place for people. And same with workplaces. Not a lot of people are as educated as they probably should be. So yeah, it's a really difficult sector.
Yeah. But I think in my mind, I think because it's talked about so much now,
Yeah.
it's hard to not know anything about it, because it's so
Yeah.
out there. But you're right. It can make a fundamental difference to someone's life if someone, just be it in education, just understands, and not a token gesture. I
Yeah.
don't like this token gesture thing where you say, okay, I understand we can do this. We know you can't help it because of this and the environment, all that. But then at the same time, however, if this happens, we're going to be excluding you.
Yeah.
You can't. How does
You
that
go back
work?
on yourself.
It's not your
Yeah.
fault, but however, it is your fault.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand how that works.
No. No, I know.
How how does this affect people then? When the support is held back or not just there in the first place? Because you going through, let's say, the education side. So when you're in that sort of environment, what sort of things can you expect from someone who is struggling with not knowing about autism or ADHD or any other neurodivergent condition? And it's presenting in lots of different ways, be it behavior or, struggling with, with being on par with everybody else kind of thing educationally. And how do you think it affects people?
It can really be detrimental to a person's well-being. I think that's the main thing, is that not having the support in place and not having the right support, it can be an incredibly lonely thing. And it can make people feel like a burden to society, and like that they and their needs don't matter. Um, and being neurodivergent in a neurotypical world is already so difficult. So support is just so crucial to help these people. And like without the support, it can affect people's day-to-day lives. It can affect the quality of someone's life, being able to hold down a job, succeeding in education, and being able to cope with it as well. So yeah.
It's I mean, there are people who do succeed. They go through education,
Yeah.
they have successful jobs, and they're earning money, and it's great. And they are autistic, and they have ADHD, they are dyslexic, and that's great. That's
Yeah.
brilliant. I mean, all credit to everyone who makes a success.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things when, oh, great. So you hear about these 30 people,
Yeah.
out of the 3 million in the UK. It's like,
Yeah.
yes, we do need to be positive about our lives and what we can do and things like that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
However, you can't just concentrate on those successful people and think everyone else should be able to do that. Because you can just turn it around and say, well, actually, these are all the millions of people who are struggling. Everyone should struggle this way. This is how it is.
Yeah.
You know, it's tough. I mean, it's one of those things. I'm trying to word it without getting emotional, because I can very easily get emotional behind this all. Because it's been my life.
Yeah.
I had that education. I don't present stereotypically.
Yeah.
I am inattentive ADHD predominantly. So yeah, there are some hyperactive elements in there. There are some impulsive elements in there, but they're not the things that are really thrust in people's faces. It's my inattention that has been the worst thing. Education and career. I would sit in class looking at the teacher, struggling to work out what she's saying, because I can't hear what she's saying because of all the other noise that's going around. And then when everyone's cracking on with whatever they're meant to be doing, I don't know what I'm doing. You know, sometimes I don't even know what class I'm in, what subject we're studying. I have to look at other people's work to try and work it out, because it's embarrassing to then speak to the teacher. Can you say that again? Because I didn't hear any of it. But then people that I'm trying to look at what they're doing, they think I'm just copying them.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like they get annoyed because I'm copying them what they think I'm doing anyway, and it's people give you a hard time over it, and it's nothing I can do about it. You know,
no, it's not in your control.
No, it's not at all. And you get people who say, you know, you try harder, try harder, try hard. There's I can't possibly try any harder than I have tried. You know, if you just put the effort in, you could be so much more. And it's just, there's only so many times you can get told you're not good enough. Before it starts to affect you. I mean, for all the adults who are going to listen to this, if you're a man and your wife continuously tells you you're not good enough and you need to try harder, even though you're trying as hard as you possibly can, and you don't understand why you keep on getting it wrong, but you're doing everything you can, but she keeps on turning around and telling you you need to try harder, you're not trying hard enough, you need to do more, you need to be better, you're not good enough. How's that going to make you feel? Okay. You know, and vice versa. You know, if the husband is telling that to his wife, it's like, no, but that is what we get continuously. You know.
Through our whole lives.
And we can't walk away. We can't get a divorce.
No.
We can't. You know, we can't do that. It is our lives, no matter what. And it comes at a cost. Okay. So what do you think about getting a private assessment then, and diagnosis for ADHD? So we've got the whole the CAMS waiting list issue. But then having to pay privately for your prescription as well, if you're ADHD, as most GP surgeries have stopped this doing the shared care. Where that's really hard. And that's kind of a system that has completely broken down, really. What do you think about it? I mean, that's kind of like, why is that happening?
I think it's really sad, because it is people's lives. Most people go for a private assessment because they're desperate for answers. It's not their first thought. They're desperate for answers, and they can't wait for that NHS assessment, or for example, you can't be referred in Oxfordshire. There's nowhere to go. So then to get the diagnosis and then be refused the medication on the NHS, it's devastating for people. And most people don't know about it. Most people don't know about this, the no shared care agreement. Like, I've spoken to people recently, and they just don't know about it. And it's definitely something that does need to be spoken about, so more people do know about it before they go through with like an assessment. Just so they're aware at the end of it that they're not going to get their medication on the NHS, and it is really expensive to do it privately.
Yeah. Again, it's come down to that communication. Now, I understand why. I did a podcast a year or so ago with a GP, and we went over the reasons behind the whole share care issue.
Yeah.
And I get it. I understand.
Yeah.
You know, the whole ADHD journey isn't within their NHS contract they have to provide a service for. Totally get that. But it also think that was put in place, and it really think it should have been done differently when they took it away. You know, because again, the communication where you go to the GP and say, hey, look, I want to do share care. I'm going to go be it privately because the waiting lists are too long. And they go, yes, we can do share care. And then halfway through that, they find out the share care stopped. That kind of thing shouldn't happen, you know?
Yeah. I went on a website recently, and it said that they like it will. They've got an agreement with like the NHS that like you can like receive a diagnosis, and obviously I don't know exactly what it said, but it was, they were basically, it sounded like they were trying to say we do have a shared care agreement, and I was like, well, that's not true. You can't put that on your website if Oxfordshire don't have this shared care agreement.
Yeah, no, it's very, very true. And a lot of, I think most GPs in Oxfordshire have actually stopped taking on new patients for shared care for ADHD treatments. I think a lot of them across the England are doing the same thing as well. I'm not sure, but definitely in Oxfordshire, this is a big issue. I am lucky. I have kept my share care. I started that, I think it's probably about 6 months or so before it all kicked in that they're all stopping. Yeah. I panicked.
Wow.
I panicked. Until I got to speak to my GP, because, you know, getting an appointment to have a conversation with the GP is really hard, and that takes a while. But until I had that conversation, because my medication changed everything for me, you know, and I didn't want to give that up. And my medication that I'm on, because not all medications are the same, they don't all work. So it's not a case of, you can just swap for a cheaper one or whatever. No, it's not. That's not how it works. But my medication, when I first went on it, and I have paid privately for it for a certain time, was just over £400 per month. I can't afford that. People can't afford that.
No.
That's just crazy.
Like, it's crazy. It's so mental. Like people just can't.
Yeah, but if that medication is working for me and other medication is not, I can't just swap to another one. I mean, I've tried swapping to another one, and it didn't work. Sometimes the side effects are just too extreme. Sometimes it just doesn't work because of how your body deals with that medication. So it's not just like I'm going to go from paracetamol to ibuprofen. It's not that.
No.
So that's the big issue, and they're big costs. And what you don't want to do is go down that. You pay your lots of money to go private, like you said. That's not, people don't want to go private. It's not, I'm paying privately because I've got money and they're better than NHS. No, that's not how it is.
That's not what people do.
It's like you said, we're struggling and we need answers. We need help now. And the only way to do it is by borrowing and getting loans out and whatever it is to be able to afford to get private. And then you're
Yeah.
given it, and you're given the diagnosis. There you go. This is something that can really help. You've tried it because you have this titration period of trying the medication out, and you find something that works. It's like, oh my God, this I can read, I can focus more better. This is how I'm feeling about myself now. I can cope now so much better. And then you find out you can't get it from the NHS because I don't even know the reason why. I mean, I know the shared care thing, but when the NHS have put this shared care into place, but they put the say the right to choose into place. They allow
Yeah.
the government allow private clinics to do these
Yeah.
assessments. Well, if they're allowed to do these assessments, they should. Well, they are clearly experienced and they are qualified to do so. Therefore,
Yeah.
the diagnosis should be valid.
Yeah.
So therefore, the NHS should go, okay, yeah, no problem at all. We've got the letter. There you go. Can see this is your report. Fantastic. Okay, we'll provide your medication. Da da da. Okay, that's how it should be.
Yeah.
Because if it's not valid,
Yeah.
well, why these businesses in business? Why are you
Yeah.
allowing these people to do all this and take lots of money off people and doing something that they're not qualified to do or doing it right? And
Yeah.
you want to sort that out. So it's kind
Yeah.
of like if they're there,
Yeah.
surely they are actually doing what they're meant to be doing. So the diagnosis should be
Yeah.
valid, and you should be
Yeah.
able to. The NHS should be able to go. Yep, it is valid. I've got all the details here. I can see this is it. Yes, we should provide that rather than going, okay, but you have to pay privately because we're not going to do it because we didn't assess you.
Yeah. It's confusing.
Yeah.
When you really think about it, it's a bit of a strange situation.
Yeah. Things could just be easier. It's all hard work. It's all
Yeah.
hard work. Um, Now, apart from increasing the funding, which you know is an issue,
Yeah.
what else would
Yeah.
you like to see? You personally, what would you like to see implemented in order to support those in need? Having the access to ADHD support, autism support, without the diagnosis in schools or work, or whatever. So what would you like?
I think for me, a massive thing that I'd like to see long term is more places to be able to be assessed in the area. Because there isn't really there's one in Didcot and for adults, and then you've got CAMS, and then you've got the paediatric service for obviously if they're under 5. So there's not many places to go, and I think it would help us and it would help the services take a bit of pressure off, because like the adult service has got like over 2,000 people on their waiting list. So they could like reduce down the waiting list so much if they just had more places in Oxfordshire to go to. And I think it would be good also to see more pre and post diagnosis support. So before you get diagnosed, because it's a waiting period. And you're going for an assessment for a reason. You're not just going for an assessment because you think, oh, just a bit of fun. You have your reasons to go for an assessment.
Yeah.
You are almost certain that you have what you're on the waiting list for. So it's not just something people do for fun and games. And I think that waiting period, you're just questioning everything. You're a bit like, oh, like what if like I'm making it up? Like it's like massive imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it would just be a game changer to see these things like implemented in our community. Yeah, I think it'd be good to see more training happening around masking provided for staff in schools, which could also benefit those navigating education undiagnosed, because with the awareness, people might be more equipped to help these people and spot the signs of masking. And I think while workplaces have come a long way in supporting those who are neurodivergent, it would be good to see more training surrounding this as well, so more people are aware and more equipped to support their colleagues and employees. And yeah, it was like your group. It would be good to see more support groups for those around for those with autism and ADHD and other neurodivergent conditions, so that people just don't feel so alone. Yeah.
It's with the workplace. I completely agree that training and getting that put in and done well.
Yeah.
But I think as well having a more positive conversations about it. Because I mean, again, I speak to a lot of people, and some of them don't want to tell their workplace because of the stereotype, and they can be treated differently and things like that. In a negative way. And it's like, well, kind of get stuck in this catch-22 situation where we should be telling our workplace about it, so we can then get the support we possibly need or not need. But at the same time, we can't do that unless we all feel comfortable doing it. Because if we don't feel, be it because of workplace banter or whatever, if we don't feel comfortable because we don't think it's going to go well, we're not going to do it. So then I think people are
just so scared of discrimination. Because you just don't know like what's going to happen if you tell your workplace. A lot of people are scared of it.
And it can be like that. I personally myself, I'll tell work that's me. That's me. And now whether it's because of what I've gone through, whether it's because I'm my age or my financial security that I've got, I don't know, but I will tell I have no issues, but other people have big issues. But I understand, because it could be coming out and saying this, the whole work atmosphere for them can change for the worse. And all of a sudden they're out of a job because apparently they're doing things wrong all of a sudden. But we need workplaces to be more vocal about it as well. Look, we want to do this. We want to be able to support. We want the information. We want education behind it. So they need to be vocal. If they really truly want to help and support, they need to be vocal to let their colleagues know that it's okay, and we're we're good. We can sort this, but we need to work together. Because
and like you're not any less hardworking because of it. Like for me, I told my workplace pre and post diagnosis, but I did try for a while not to tell them, because when I started my job, I'd only just got the information myself. So I was still trying to process it and deal with it, and I was like, no, I'm not going to tell them. I don't need to tell them. I don't have a diagnosis. So I think it's a massive thing, especially pre-diagnosis. People just don't really talk about it with work. But I think it's really important, but I understand completely why people just don't do it. So
I would love for that to change, because we need to be able to talk about it. We need to be able to feel that we can talk about it, and being secure in in that we can do that and be sort of protected. And like I say, some of the things you can do, there's a lot of things you can do to help support and these adjustments that can be made. But it also depends on the workplace that you're in, and it also depends on what you need as a person. Like one of the suggested things is have flexible working. Yes, that is an adjustment that is feasible in some areas. In the job that I do, it's not.
No.
Because I need to be there at a certain time, otherwise there's no one else that, you know what I mean? So you need, but like in an office environment, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
There's like my one of my supervisors starts telling me what to do where she wants me, and is using a lot of words, and it's a bit too much for me to remember. I'm comfortable with our rapport to say stop.
Yeah.
just shorten it, less words. Tell me what you
Yeah.
want me to do, and I'll go do that. Nothing else, please.
Yeah.
And she'll do that, which is great, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's little adjustments like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's more. It's depending on. I don't need flexible working, and there's a lot of things I don't need. I just need less words when you're telling me what to do. But that's me. Okay.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's not huge things. It's not thousands and thousands of pounds worth of, reasonable adjustments. The majority of reasonable adjustments don't cost anything.
No.
Okay, it's just a slightly different, tweak to how messages get across to you. If you're in training, if you're doing a verbal you give notes afterwards, and it's things like this, little things like that can help. You sometimes can't put everything into place, but if you can do a few little things, that can make a world of difference.
Yeah. I think if they have understanding around it, you can put these things in place most of the time. It's just the understanding.
Yeah. I mean, when I'm at work, I use fidget tangles. So
love them.
Yeah, I absolutely. Yeah. I've tried other fidget toys. I don't get on with them. But tangles, I said to my managers, look, I need this. It helps me to focus. Keeps me calm. And it's it's what I kind of need, and they're okay about it. I'm okay about it, and I just crack on. And again, that I pay for this, and we just do it, and it's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's such a small thing. Yeah, but it does make the world a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. So okay, so what would you say then? What would you say to those who are still on the waiting list right now?
I think, hold on. I know it's not a fair system. I know the waiting list is really, really tough. That's a really hard process to be going through. And if you can and feel able to, please do fight, because it's not okay what's happening, and your voice deserves to be heard. We aren't just a statistic. We're real humans who just want answers and support. And it's okay if you're feeling the weight of being put onto a waiting list that is years long.
Yeah, Can you imagine? Can you imagine going to the doctors and you've got severe chest pains, and they say, okay, yeah, I can get you to see a specialist. It's going to be a 5-year waiting list, though. Is that all right?
Yeah.
That wouldn't happen, would it? No, that's not okay.
No.
Brilliant. I mean, what would you say then to the decision makers then? About the issues and that they've created. What would you say to them?
Just please listen to us. There isn't enough funding in this area, clearly, and something needs to change. We are not just a number. We are real people who just want a diagnosis and support, and we're already living in a world that isn't designed for us, and then having this issue on top of that makes it even more challenging for us. I wish and hope you can support the services to provide better support pre and post diagnosis, as well as providing more assessments within Oxfordshire, so we can change this problem, because we can't keep living like this and ignoring the issue.
No, we can't. No.
Yeah.
Ella, it's been absolutely lovely having you here.
Yeah.
It's been fantastic having this conversation.
Yeah.
I think this has to happen more. This has to happen more regularly to the right people. We need people to listen, but not just listen, act on what they're being told. The decision makers need to understand that the parent, the carers, and the people who are going through all this, we know better than everybody else in
Yeah.
a lot of respects. Okay. So if you're looking for processes to put in place to help, listen to the parents, listen to the kids, listen to the adults, listen to the people who've gone through it, listen to
Yeah.
them and be guided by them,
Yeah.
not just come up with some ideas and think this will be, yeah, we'll do this. You need to listen to the people who've gone through what you've put us through.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Guys, thank you for listening, and Ella, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
If you're 18 years and over and been diagnosed or undiagnosed with ADHD, or a parent carer supporting a child with diagnosed or undiagnosed ADHD, the Wandering Minds Collective is a Oxfordshire charitable association that runs a peer support group with in-person support meetings and guide you through your ADHD journey. And also, if you feel that you would benefit from guidance and emotional support from the Abingdon Bridge charity, and you're a young person aged 13 to 25, I'll put all the contact details on the podcast and social media posts. But thank you all for listening. As always, be good, be kind, and remember, you're not alone. Thank you.
Thank you.